Your thumbnail on YouTube is one of the most important parts of your video because people really do judge a book by its cover. And if they're looking for a topic, they're looking for the most professional answer possible. So if your thumbnail looks homemade and it's not looking professional and it's not meeting their expectations of that genre or of that niche, they're not going to click on your video, even if you're the best person for this, the most well-spoken, and you've got the most information in your video. They're looking for those visual cues that you are in fact the one that can answer their question. And so you need to make sure you have a really good thumbnail. Now we have videos on thumbnail posing. We've got them on how to build thumbnails. There's tons of information here on the channel. I will link some of those down in the caption for you. But once you get through those, we're gonna make sure we put together a good quality thumbnail. So let's actually do this together right now. I'm gonna use Photoshop, but you can use any editing platform that you want. The rules and regulations and the trends and the things you need to know are the same. You just have to find the right buttons inside of your system. So inside of Photoshop, the first thing that I'm going to do is drop in my photo. And then to make sure this is as easy as possible, I'm gonna cut myself out of this image. So the background does not matter for this. I'm gonna click the select subject button and it automatically is going to highlight me in that image. Now, if you need to tweak this a little bit, you're gonna grab your lasso tool, and if you hold the shift button down, it's going to add that to it, Command Z to undo. If you need to remove something, if it is, you don't want part of something there, you're gonna hold that option button down, and it's going to then remove that section. So once you're done with that, you're going to add a layer mask. That is the one that looks like a rectangle with a circle on the inside, and it's gonna remove the background. It's going to take that away, and it's going to be nice, clean lines for you. If you need to clean this up, you're going to grab your brush tool and you're going to make it a hard brush tool. So if it's set up here, you can just click on that hard round brush, and then you can paint on with the color white. So all you have to do is paint that on. It's a 47% opacity. Let me move that up to 100%. You can see how that background comes back. If I need to remove it, I can click the X button over to the black color and just remove that. Now I'm cut out and I'm ready to go. So my next step is going to be to get my words onto my page. So the thing that's going to be on your thumbnail that gets the attention is the words. You want them to be big block letters and you want them to be easily standing out. So I typically do like a color box behind it so it pops no matter what my background is going to look like. So you're going to type out in 1, 2, or 3 lines. Do not put a lot of text heavy information in this thumbnail. And you're going to want to use emotion words or very easy trigger words so people can see it and understand, oh, this is a good fit for me. So if you are going to be putting this in, let's write something like make awesome thumbnails. And then you're going to do it in a big block lettering. So I'm going to go ahead and use the one that I use as my branding fonts here. And then I'm going to make this nice and big so that you can see how that's very easily going to be seen inside of what I'm creating. Now I am going to, for me, I'm going to come in and I'm going to put rectangles behind this. So now I've got a rectangle that's over the words. I'm just going to change my coloring to something like white, and I'm going to drag it down beneath my words. And you can use different colors. You can use different font colors, all of those things. Whatever's going to work best for you in the background that you are going to be doing. I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this layer, which moved on me. There we go. And I'm going to duplicate that. And then I'm going to drag that one down. I'm going to turn off my auto select. And then I'm just going to Command T to expand that. Or you can draw the rectangles individually. And you can duplicate this one as well. Right down until we have everything highlighted. And make sure any allowance for edge on this one, so the space above your text and around your text, is pretty even on the different layers. So from there, I am going to go ahead and put all of that inside of a folder, and I'm going to label it title. And then if I'm going to rotate this in any way, shape, or form, I am going to duplicate it and turn one of the layers off. And then I'm going to be able to rotate that. That was Command T for transform. And then you just grab the corner and you're good to go. So from here, I can decide if it's going to be above or below my layer where my person is going to be, so that my thumb can go, or my finger can go over it if I want or not. Depends on what you are going to want for your imagery. Then we have to do our backgrounds. Now your background is going to be what really makes this to stand out. And different genres and different niches have different types of layouts and backgrounds. So you have to do your research. I'm coming very much from an educational standpoint. I'm coming from a tutorial standpoint. I am coming from instructional content. If you're doing a vlog, it's probably not going to look exactly like this. You're probably going to do more of a lifestyle where you are going to be inside of a photo, and then you're going to have a background of your house or something realistic, and you're going to do cutouts and words and things. It's going to be a little bit different for a vlog than for educational content or instructional or tutorial type content. So you are going to want to make sure you have something that is colorful and something that gets people's attention. So for me, I tend to use backgrounds from Envato, and I tend to go in and I'd like to mix them. So it's not always the same thing that everybody else is using. Envato is stock imagery, which is really nice. They've got this adorable little website, which I will link down below. If you use my affiliate link, you get fun extra things. I get kickback from what they are making off of you. It doesn't come out of your pocket, but it does take some of their profit and give it to me. So please use the affiliate link if you want to be using this. And I'm just going to go up to all items. I'm going to go down to graphics, and then I'm going to type in the word background, or if I'm looking for a specific color, I can type in that specific color. So let me say purple background. I am on caps lock there. And then I can just scroll through and I can pick which of these backgrounds is going to work for me. So something like this is actually going to be a really good fit because it has those lines, it has motion, it has movement. It's visually interesting, but not visually overwhelming. If I went up to something like this might be a little bit on the overwhelming side. So I might want to pull back a little bit. But if I'm doing something like this smoke here, that doesn't have a lot of visual depth. So we're looking for things that actually have some semblance of a design to them and not just like a gradient background, because that doesn't pop as people are scrolling. It looks less professional. So the more professional the background image is, the more professional the thumbnail looks. If it's just a color gradient or a solid color, it very much has that homemade vibe to it. So looking through this, I would just go through and I would pick something that works. This is kind of nice. It might be a little busy. If something is a little busy, I can add a Gaussian blur to it and just lower it a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say this one's kind of nice just to show you what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and create my new project. And while that's downloading, I'm going to scroll a little bit more. Maybe I like kind of this swirly pattern. Swirly type things tend to work really well, especially on YouTube. From there, you're then able to see if there's anything else you want to add to this. So I'm kind of looking for things that I can overlay a little bit. Let me grab this one so I can show you how to combine these as well, even though for this one, it might look a little on the overwhelming side. So now that I have those two graphics, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag this into my background here. And once it's on, I am just going to go ahead and resize that so that it fits the entire length of my graphic. Now, if it was ahead of those things, I just have to drag it down below those layers so that those appear. Now we can see we've got more of a professional background inside of the image that we are creating. Maybe it's too dark. Maybe this is kind of like a muted thing. So I am going to, because I am a little bit darker with the hat and with the colors that I'm wearing, I'm going to come in and I'm going to use a brightness and contrast panel. And I'm just going to be able to move up my brightness to make it lighter so that I am popping in my thumbnail a little bit more. Now, if this is not a thumbnail that I like, if maybe this is too busy, I can go up to filter and I can go down to blur and then to Gaussian blur. Gaussian blur is going to make things softer. And so you can change your Gaussian blur level. Watch the background here. Right now, it is the way that it was created to be. And I am just going to be able to slowly move this up. And you can see how it's becoming more and more blurred as it is going to go. And now you can see we've got more of like that gradient feel to it. And so I'm going to back it off a little bit more so we can see some of the lines. But now I and the text are very clearly standing out on this. But let's say that this one wasn't quite this busy and you wanted to combine them to make this a little bit more unique. Now we're going to grab a second graphic and we're going to be able to add that to it. And we're just going to make it bigger sized. And then you're going to change the blend mode on this. So let's say I like it right there. I'm going to go ahead and place it. I am then going to grab my blend mode. Because this has a darker background, I could use my screen blend mode to remove any blacks. And now you can see how that is very clearly adding a little bit of that in. But if I don't have it black, I can try all these different levels. There's a bunch of different things that will darken them or lighten them or overlay them in different ways until you're happy with what it is. So let's say I'm going to use this for example because you can very clearly see that line along the bottom. If I don't want that strong line there, all I have to do is add a layer mask, again, the rectangle with the little circle in it, and you're going to go over to your brush tool. And from your brush tool, you're going to click on your soft round brush, not your hard brush. And you're going to make sure that you have that at 100% opacity and it's on black. And then you're just going to hold your shift key down and run it along that edge. And now it blends it in perfectly. Let's say we don't like it up top. Maybe I'm going to remove some of that just by painting off certain areas so that it blends in really well and very easily. So now I have to think of my color scheme. Because this particular thumbnail I'm making is for a YouTube video, maybe purple's not the color that I'm going to need. So now I'm going to add a new layer. It's just like a little box with a plus sign inside of it. And I'm going to go over to my gradient tool. I'm going to click on my gradient tool. I'm going to come down and I am going to click on the reds, or I can paint it on myself. Maybe I don't like these reds. I will say the reds in the gradient tool are terrible, but some of the other colors like the blues and the purples, those look really, really nice. So I use gradients there. But let's say I'm not going to use this. So now I'm going to grab my paintbrush tool. I'm going to grab the red and I'm going to paint over it. You can see normally this is just a normal paintbrush tool and it's removing all of my background, but fear not because there is a blend mode for that. So I'm just going to paint over this right here. And then I'm going to go to my blend mode and I'm going to go down to either color or hue, and that will change those things up. If this is too intense, I can change my brightness and contrast, or I can back off my opacity for that layer, and then I can go into the purples, into the pinks. I can illuminate it in different ways to change those things up. The goal here is to add visual interest. So we are specifically looking for things that have some kind of designated design in the background image. You're then going to make sure you have big, bold block letters, usually white, black, red, blues. Those things tend to stand out, and depending on your color scheme, yellow can also work really well for you. And then you have to understand your niche. What do people expect? What type of posing, what type of thumbnails, what type of backgrounds, what type of like cutout images are you supposed to be outlined? Are you not supposed to be outlined? It depends on what your industry is doing well with right now, because people who are searching in those areas or who are watching that type of content know what it looks like to be a professional in that space. If you are doing vlogs, if you're doing educational content in the food space, if you are doing educational content in the marketing space, all of those things have different styles of thumbnails that you have to then look for. So your goal here is to get a really good thumbnail image of you that you then cut out and put on your thumbnail, a really good background image in colors and schemes that match what you're doing in that space. And then you want to make sure you've got really strong block letters that are easily read, that stop the scroll and get people's attention to say, yes, this is a professional video, not a homemade video. This is the professional giving you professional information to get your answers and get back to what you were doing. So you want to make sure you are using a program like Envato to make sure you're getting those backgrounds, or you can create your own. You can take your own background. If you're a graphic designer, you can make your own. You do need to make sure that it is new and unique to your channel, so it's not the same thumbnail on repeat every time you have a video, so that they actually click and watch through your videos. Follow along for more daily episodes helping you navigate the world of your social media marketing to save you time, effort, and stress, so you can create more profitable video while still being able to have a life. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.